Hello and welcome to the yoga space. Today we are going to talk about the lower back and the spine. This video is dedicated to and made for my sweet husband Jason, who is out doing sales, and he keeps complaining about his lower back when he's walking. So today I want to dive in and explain why he's experiencing some of that pain and what we can do to add yoga into our life in order to avoid that. So let's begin. All right, so the lower back is obviously part of your spine, and in yoga we talk about the spine all day, every day. The point of yoga is to realign our spine, lengthen it, and make sure that our body is feeling good, because everything in our body is connected to our spine. I don't know if you guys have ever had back pain at some point, maybe a knot in your shoulders or something, or maybe in your upper neck and you're getting migraines from that. Trust me, we've all been there and it sucks. So can you imagine being out at work? Maybe some of you guys install flooring or are teachers or have desk jobs, stuff like that. I do have a yoga video on yoga for a desk job. Please be sure to take a look at that. But today we're going to talk about yoga for those who are on their feet walking around all day. We're going to learn how to protect your lower back and your spine. So first things first, walking. You can do yoga while you're walking. You don't have to be on a mat. So a few things that we can do, I want to make sure that you guys have your power centers turned on. Our bodies have two power centers. They are called bandhas, okay? Bandhas, they're energy that we can create literally just by standing. Can you imagine breaking a sweat by just standing, okay? And I don't mean standing out in the summer heat. You can be anywhere and you can be engaged, strengthening your body just by looking like you're doing nothing, okay? So our two bandhas are your Uddiyana Bandha and your Mula Bandha. If those are engaged, boom, you're creating heat. So if you're walking around all day, you want to get that exercise in, maybe you're out doing sales all day, or you are working at a grocery store, okay? If you're working these long hours, you don't have time to go to the gym. Could you imagine getting abs just by standing at the grocery store all day? That's what we're going to do, okay? So your Uddiyana Bandha is going to be right here, right underneath your belly button, okay? And that one is going to be how you engage your core. This one's going to protect your lower back the most. So you want to pull it in, you want to engage your core, almost like we are trying to be Abercrombie and Fitch models, right? You know how they always have the pictures of the guy with strong abs on their bags, you know? So we're going to flex those abs in. You're going to pull these muscles in towards the back of your spine. I know yoga instructors are always saying stuff like that. Pull it in towards the back of your spine. But what you do is when you begin to pull that in, and I don't mean like suck in your gut, right? We're not holding our breath. We're not going, right? Okay, we're pulling it in nice and gentle, nice and slow, super engaged. Pull that in. Automatically, your lower back is now protected, okay? They're right next to each other. So if our core is engaged, your lower back is protected. So that's going to be the number one thing you're going to want to do when you're walking around. If you're walking around and your belly is hanging out, not doing anything, okay, chances are your lower back's going to be not protected. And when you're walking around, you're moving your hips, okay, you can become out of line, okay? Then also when you're pulling that in, it allows your posture to be better. That's number two, is your posture. How many times are you walking around and you feel yourself going like this, creating this weird crescent moon shape, okay? Now, this leaves your spine completely unprotected. Not only is that going to hurt your shoulders, but it's also going to hurt your lower back. Our spines naturally have these curves. It's because our bodies are upright. Imagine holding a bowling ball, okay? You're holding a bowling ball, it's going to be really heavy. You're going to want to hold it like this, right? If you're holding it for an extended period of time, okay? I'll even grab a weight for you. So here I have a 15-pound weight, okay? This is a bit heavy for a bowling ball. Now, if I'm going to hold it for an extended period of time, I'm going to kind of want to bend my wrists a little bit, okay? I'm kind of relaxed. I'm obviously not lifting weights right now. Obviously, I would want to have more of a straight wrist. But imagine this is a bowling ball. You want to kind of support that, bend that back a little bit, okay? This is what our spine is doing, okay? It has that natural bend in it in order to support our weight. So if we're going like this, we are actually turning our lower back, which if you feel with your hands, your lower back kind of goes in a little bit here, okay? So it goes in and then out, and then it goes in again right at your neck, and then it goes out again in order to support your head, because your head looks like what? A bowling ball, okay? So our head is that bowling ball. We want to have that natural wave in our spines. And so when we're walking, we want to make sure that we maintain that. And by pulling your core in, you're going to maintain that, okay? So pulling your core in, you're going to maintain that posture, and you're not going to be hunched over like this, okay? This also disrupts the curves in your neck as well, and it'll cause headaches and shoulder pain, okay? So that's just from walking. These are a couple things that you can remember when you're walking. Another thing to do is, once again, we're going to talk about the upper back a little bit, because if your upper back is hurting, chances are so is your lower back, okay? So when we're walking, a lot of times, especially if we're working and standing, a lot of times our muscles in our neck will automatically begin to contract and pull our shoulders up towards your ears, okay? How many times have you found yourself in this position? I know it happens to me all the time. So when you're walking, just maybe take a couple, breaths. Meditative, right? When we're doing yoga, we're focusing on our breath and our body, being mindful with our motions. And that means with every step, every time that you're on your feet. So if you're sitting there, you're working at a counter, working retail. I am a teacher, so a lot of times I'm on my feet as well, walking around, talking to my students, making sure they're doing their work, okay? It's the same thing, especially if you're, hunched over. Even if you're working at a desk job, right? If you're hunched over anything, okay? Just take a mindful moment, maybe take a big inhale in, bring your shoulders up towards your ears, and roll them down your spine. Now our spine is where it's supposed to be, okay? So this is just some things that you can do while you're at work, right? As I am sure you guys know, you can't always pull out a yoga mat at the middle of your job, okay? Maybe you'll have a break, you can do something like that. But a lot of times when we're at work, we're on the clock. So these are just some mindful things that you can do. You're standing there, you're walking around, you just pull in your belly, okay? Now your posture is automatically gonna be a little bit better. Your lower back is gonna start to feel better. Now let's hit the mat. This is some stuff that we can do at home. Things that we can do to help our lower backs feel better. First things first, any core exercises. If you're doing core exercises, your lower back is gonna feel better, okay? My recommendation every time, especially with beginners in yoga, figure out some sun salutations. Sun salutations A includes core, arms, and leg stretches, okay? If you do 5 sun salutations in a row, it will drastically help your mobility, your flexibility, stuff like that, and it will help your lower back and your core. So let's try it out, okay? So I always like to begin at the top of my mat. I always begin by pulling in my bandhas. So we talked about the first one, your Uddiyana Bandha, okay? So you begin by pulling that in. Your second bandha is your Mula Bandha, okay? It is right below here, it's kind of in your crotch area. And the way you engage that is just imagine you're having to go to the bathroom. So you kind of just pull that upwards. It's your pelvic floor. You're lifting that up. That also pulls and engages your pelvic muscles, which contain your hips, okay? So by engaging your Uddiyana Bandha and your Mula Bandha, your hips are now engaged, your core is engaged, and you are gonna be way more stable. So I begin at the top of my mat, I pull in these bandhas, I get nice and engaged, and once again, just by standing here, focusing on these bandhas, I will get tired, okay? I'm building energy by just standing. It's called active standing, okay? Once those are pulled in, take a big inhale and sweep your arms up, reach towards the sky, lengthen. You want to lengthen up through your spine, okay? And exhale, dive forward, okay? Now, for your first forward fold of your practice, or in general, a lot of times you're not going to be as flexible, and that's okay. That's why I say do this 5 times so that you can observe how the yoga changes your body even in a short amount of time. Once again, I'm still pulling in my Uddiyana Bandha. I'm squeezing my belly in towards my body. This allows the stretch down my hamstrings, and I can also kind of feel some release in my lower back just by doing this, okay? Take your hands, slide them up your shins, bring your shoulders up towards your ears and roll them down your spine. And we're gonna do a little bitty back bend here. Lift up your heart, open it up, okay? And then exhale, fold forward once again. Take your hands, super strong in your hands, almost like you're trying to grip something off of your mat. Plant them at the top of your mat, step back, and come forward into a plank. This is where your core begins to come in, your core and your shoulders, okay? Super strong. You want to be straight line from your heels all the way to your shoulders. You want to make sure that your shoulders are pushing away from your mat, okay? You don't want to sink in your shoulders like this. This is going to make the next part really, really difficult. So make sure that you're super strong and engaged. You see the difference? It's almost like 2 inches, okay? Super strong and engaged, squeezing that belly in. Once again, this is a part that could hurt your lower back if your bandhas are not engaged, okay? When you're squeezing in your belly, you are a straight line. If you're not, you can sink like this, or you can be lifted like this. Either of these options are not going to feel good on your lower back. So you want to squeeze that core in. You see that straight line? Then you squeeze your elbows in towards your body and lower down halfway. Keep that straight line. Pull your heart open, upward dog. Your knees and legs are not touching your mat, only the tips of your toes. Open up your heart. You can feel that lengthening in your spine. Once again, this is another back bend. Back bends lengthen your spine, so you'll feel that in your lower back, all the way up your spine. Roll over your toes into downward dog. Downward dog is a very, very important posture. It can feel really, really good, okay? One common misconception is that when you're in downward dog, your heels have to be touching the mat like this, okay? But I want you to bring your attention to my lower back and my sit bones, okay? Right now, they're pointing this way. We want them to point up, okay? So if you put a little bend in your knees, and then push with your shoulders. Do you see how now my sit bones and my back, my spine is pointing up? That's what we want, okay? Straight line from your tailbone to your shoulders, pointing up towards the sky. And then you push, lengthen your spine, super engaged. You want your triceps to be super engaged here in downward dog, okay? Now you can take some time, pedal out your knees. Rock from side to side. You can play around in downward dog. Just a little bit. I always tell my students, our bodies are like glow sticks. Sometimes we have to pop a little bit before we can glow. So if you hear popping, cracking, whatever, that's okay. Breathe into it. Obviously, don't tear a muscle or anything like that. We don't want those kind of pops, right? But sometimes when I get into downward dog or a halfway lift, I can hear some popping in my spine, and that's okay. Sometimes it feels really good. Okay, so you're supposed to stay here for about 5 breaths. I know we've been here for a lot longer. So inhale, look up towards your hands, and exhale, slowly walk your feet to the top of your mat. Now, chances are, of course, you're not going to be able to keep your hands flat on the mat like I am. And you know what? That's okay. So when we're here in downward dog and it's time to step forward, if you need to bend your knees, that's perfectly fine. Okay, this is still yoga, just like this. Okay, so it's once again just learning to listen to your body, know where your boundaries are. Okay, so you're here in your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift again. Slide your hands up your shin. And then I also like to kind of stick out my booty just a little bit. Bring your shoulders up towards your ears, roll them down your spine, open up your heart a little bit. Fold once again. See if you can pull yourself a little bit further. And then on your next inhale, take your hands, sweep them up over your head, reach up towards your fingertips. And exhale, palms at heart center, squeezing your Uddiyana Bandha, pulling your Mula Bandha up, okay? Do that 5 times. Sun salutations, A. All right, go ahead, rewind, do that 5 more times, and then observe how your lower back is, okay? So now, your lower back is gonna be nice and warm by this point. A lot of your muscles, or your whole body should be pretty warm by this point, okay? Now we can kind of bring it down a little bit, okay? Strengthening your lower back and your core. A really good exercise I like to do to strengthen my core and my lower back is boat pose. This one is so important that you listen to your body, because your lower back is actually going to tell you when your body has had enough, okay? So we want to be super in tune with that part of your body, just like this midsection here, okay? So go ahead and bend your knees, plant your feet on your mat, okay? If this in of itself, you can kind of feel it, great, stay here. Keep your feet on your mat. Maybe you can place your hands on your knees, stick them underneath, whatever it is, or maybe place your hands on your belly. Squeeze your core in automatically. If you're squeezing your core in this posture, it's going to relieve pressure from your lower back, okay? Now, if you're sitting in this posture and you're like, come on, Anna, what's next, okay? Begin to come onto your tippy toes and start walking your feet towards your body, but then begin to shift over to your sit bones. That's right, your little butt bones right there. And begin to slowly lift your feet off of the mat, okay? Now this is where it gets tricky. If you feel any discomfort in your lower back, back off. That means that you still need to live on foot on the mat land. And that's okay, okay? But continue to practice it. Squeeze your belly in. Just the squeezing motion should lift up your feet, okay? Then you can practice lifting your feet up. Maybe you keep your hands still behind your knees for support. Keep your chest lifted. You don't want to sink like this. This is how you hurt your back. That's not what we want. We want nice, strong, engaged, squeezing, 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 super strong. And then you can let your hands fall down by the side. Gaze towards your toes. Super strong. Beautiful. And this is it. So you'll feel that strength in your belly and your lower back. That is a good start. That will teach your body and your mind to learn how to communicate. It's going to teach you to know what your body's boundaries are when it comes to your core and your lower back. It's also a posture that you can really grow in, especially if you're still on foot on the mat land. That's perfect. Sometimes even just this motion is a huge stretch, which brings me to my next posture. This is my favorite one when it comes to lower back health. It's called child's pose. Come onto your knees, okay? Child's pose is a restorative posture. Any yoga class, if your yoga instructor is going crazy and you have no idea what you're doing and you just need to take a break, child's pose is always the best place to go. I always tell my students, if you don't know what to do or if you can't do the flow, sit in child's pose, okay? Especially when it comes to participation and stuff like that, okay? Child's pose is amazing. There's a couple different ways you can get into it, and it depends on how deep of a stretch you want to get. Hi, baby. All right, excuse me. So, you can begin with your knees together. This one is usually what I do after doing headstands, because a lot of times headstands can cause some lower back discomfort. So you kind of just drape your body over your knees and you plant the top of your forehead right onto your mat. Now there are two things you can do, well, a few things you can do with your hands here. You can stretch your arms forward, give your shoulders a nice stretch. You can bring your arms down to the side, maybe grab onto your fingers behind your bum. Or if you'd like to give yourself a nice back of the arm stretch, you can plant your hands together and tuck your thumbs behind your head. Honestly, the choice is yours. The next way you can kind of, oops, excuse me. You can open up your knees a little bit. So your big toes are still gonna be together and your knees are gonna be open. This is gonna give you a little bit of a different type of stretch in your lower back. You're gonna be able to sink your chest down to your mat, or at least work towards that. Sink your chest down, and then you can plant your cheek, or you can plant your forehead there as well. Once again, you can have your arms out in front of you. You can tuck your thumbs behind your neck, or you can bring your hands down to the side. Breathe into those hip muscles there. It feels incredible. And then to get out of them, you just inhale, squeeze your core in, and lift all the way up. One more thing I'm going to show you. It always feels really good on my lower back. It's going to be a little bit more complex. It's going to kind of take it to the next level, but it feels incredible. So back bends. Back bends are a way that we lengthen our spine. So when we are rounding our spine like this, we're actually contracting our spine. And when we do back bends, we are lengthening it, okay? So I like to begin with contracting my spine, and then I'm gonna come into a small back bend to lengthen it. So it's gonna be a posture and then a counter posture, and it feels really, really good. So my favorite one is a shoulder stand. So you can begin with candlestick. This is the first step to the shoulder stand, candlestick. This is an inversion, so if you are right here and you're really struggling, or if you're here and it feels really good, stay here, okay? This is an inversion in of itself, and it really focuses on your core because it's lifting your legs straight up in the air. This also is the same as a halfway lift, so it has the same benefits. Okay, so you can tuck your hands underneath your hips, or you can just leave your lower back fused with your mat. If this feels good, stay here. Otherwise, let's take this a little bit further. Point your toes, squeeze your core, and come on to your shoulders. So you don't want to squeeze your neck too close in towards your chest. Imagine you have a little piece of fruit right here. You want to keep that space. Okay, you want to create a nice straight line from your heels all the way to your shoulders. You want to squeeze your core, squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. If this feels good, stay here. Otherwise, let's take it a little bit further. Nice deep forward fold. You're going to slowly begin to lower your toes back behind your head. Okay? Here I am at about a 90-degree angle. My core is really engaged here. Okay? Or lower all the way down to the floor. This is something you can work up to. It creates that hamstring mobility. It feels incredible on the lower back. My core is still squeezing in. You see how it's pulling in, pulling in. I like to take about 10 breaths here. Really get that stretch, that heat. And then slowly I come back up to my shoulder stand. And then one vertebrae at a time, come all the way back down. Okay. I'll scoot back for you for the little back bend. So here I can already feel it. I can feel my spine has been contracted. It's been worked a little bit. Okay, so now I'm gonna do a counter posture. This is called fish pose. I'm gonna be chilling here like I'm watching Saturday morning cartoons. I'm on my elbows. I'm gonna squeeze that core in, but I'm gonna begin to lift my heart, open up my heart here, and I'm gonna walk my elbows towards my hips and let my head fall back into my shoulder cradle. until the crown of my head touches the mat behind me. Little bitty back bend here. Inhale, lift up a little bit, and then exhale, lay all the way down. So it's a nice workout for your core, and my lower back definitely feels worked. It feels really good. Now to finish it off, bring your knees in towards your chest, wrap your arms around them. Wow, this always feels so good on my lower back. It's the exact same thing as child's pose, except for now I'm on my back. So if you want, you can take your forehead and reach it towards your knees, pull it in towards your chest. I always like to give a little bit of love to my body, give my knees a little kiss, okay? Maybe rock side to side. And then I always finish every single practice with opening up my arms to a T, letting my knees fall down to one side, looking at the opposite side, so my knees are now to my left while I look to my right. I take about 10 breaths here. Inhale, I bring my knees back into center. If you want to reset, you can bring your knees back in towards your chest. Or if you'd like, you can just use your core and let your knees slowly and carefully go to the other side. Inhale, bring your knees back in towards your chest. Go ahead and give yourself one more big hug. Love, love, love to your lower back and to your spine and your body. Yay, we feel so good. Kisses again. Take a big inhale and fill your lungs all the way up. And exhale, I like to lift all my fingers and my toes up into the air. And exhale, release everything. Tuck your shoulder blades underneath your body. Palms face up towards the sky. Big inhale in. Exhale. Now, this is Shavasana. Typically, this is the last posture. However, we're talking about our lower back here. So if we're laying just like this, our lower back is going to be lifted up a little bit. And sometimes that doesn't always feel good. So what are we going to do about it? I'll show you. Because we're talking about your lower back, we're going to do a supported Shavasana. Grab a blanket or a pillow and fold it up so that it's long and skinny just like this. We're going to place our lower back right on there as we get into Shavasana. So place your bum right in front of it, so your sit bones are going to be right there. And then as you lay down for Shavasana, allow your lower back to be elevated a little bit. You can keep your knees bent if you like. And now, tuck your shoulder blades underneath your body. Palms can lay out to the side, or arms can lay out to the side, palms facing up towards the ceiling. And now let's take one deep breath together. Inhale through your nose and out through your mouth. Feels so good. Find some rest here. Slowly begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Gently rock your head from side to side. Go ahead and sweep your arms up above your head. You can point your toes, lengthen your legs out. It's like you just woke up in the morning. Sigh it all out. And carefully make your way to a comfortable seat. Thank you so much for tuning in to this tutorial. I hope some of this can help with any of your lower back needs. Feel free to comment on my video if you have any recommendations or any other videos that you would like. I appreciate any feedback from any of you. And let's take one breath together. Inhale through your nose and out through your mouth. Thank you for practicing with me today. May your day be filled with happiness, joy, and peace. Namaste.